So we land in Stuttgart, Germany, no luggage, wait for hours and hours and hours to get our luggage. They give us this little package with a t-shirt, a pair of socks, the thinnest t-shirt, pair of socks, a tube of toothpaste, you know, the oops, we forgot your luggage bag. And once we get our luggage, which was a few hours later, we get down to rent our van that we're gonna have for a month. We had ordered a GPS with the van because it wasn't equipped with one. Sorry, we're all out of GPS. We don't read German. Here's a map, circled it. That's where we have a GPS at our other office. A few hours later, we actually ended up getting our GPS. But yeah. Sweet. Hey guys, my name is Dallas. Thanks for checking out the video. Today I'm going to be sharing some experiences that I've had over the years playing music, give a gear rundown, maybe some tips and tricks for up-and-coming musicians. And I hope you like the video. And if you do, make sure to click right here. Stay tuned. Oh, I just got in trouble from my wife actually for not doing it. How do I keep my hair up? Lots of hairspray. I straighten it. Sometimes it depends on the gig, I guess. It depends on what band I'm playing in for that day, or that night, or that month, or that week, or whatever it is. Because you have to mesh with your bandmates. You can't be different. If you're in a rock and roll band, you can't be too glam because you look out of place. But if you're in a glamish band, then look the part. There's eyeliner and tons of amount of hairspray, black nail polish. That's pretty much the extent. Got into music as a young kid, dabbled in it with taking guitar lessons. I was never really good. Well, I was playing baseball and hockey at the same time, so didn't have a ton of time to give to it. I would do the 6-month interval almost. It would be 6 months of having lessons, getting pretty good, and then I put it away. And then I'd pick it up a year later and do 6 months and get back to where I was and then put it away. It wasn't until I was in my early 30s. My wife and I moved to a little town called Dundas, Ontario for her to go to school at McMaster. And I decided that I should get back into music. I didn't know anybody, no friends out there other than my sister and my brother-in-law were about an hour away. So I thought, well, yeah, I'll pick up music. So I called one of my best buddies, who was actually a roommate of mine in college, who is a multi-talented person, can play pretty much any instrument. And I told him that I was going to get back in music and I wanted to play the drums. And he says, well, make sure that you got somewhere to put them because there's no volume control. I said, oh yeah, that's right, no volume. He said, well, didn't you say you had a bass in high school? I did have a bass in high school for about 2 months. Could never figure it out. Sold it really fast. Jammed a couple times with some friends in a basement. And so I said, well, yeah, maybe I'll do that. And then that kind of started it. I had never been into a Long McQuaid before, never knew their payment plans that they get you addicted to. And I went in and I bought an Epiphone Thunderbird because Nikki Sixx had one and he was one of my favorites growing up as a musician. And yeah, I had to have that bass, so that's what started it. I grew up listening to, you name it, in the car on holidays was ABBA, Johnny Cash, Patsy Cline, Hank Williams Sr., the Beach Boys, big time, stuff like that. So that broadened my horizon huge. You get into grade school, of course, and everybody's listening. When we got into grade school, it was Def Leppard, Motley, later on in high school, Guns N' Roses, and God, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden. We used to air guitar to Iron Maiden constantly. And Motley, of course, was my favorite. That was my first concert, actually. It was Motley with my mom. She took me. 1985 for Theatre of Pain in Edmonton. Yeah. So yeah, that was, but I never, even Frank Sinatra, stuff like that, was always played in the house. Orchestra music, I remember one of the first LPs that I ever noticed that wasn't rock and roll was the theme songs for Star Wars. Way back when we had the 60s LP the big long thing with the radio in one, and you'd lift up the other end was the record player. So yeah, that was those are my influences, pretty much all over the map. I didn't think at any time it would be any easier. I think maybe because I like that. I like the rhythm. I like the groove of a song. I pick it out. When I was doing quote unquote research of what it took to be a bass player, 9 times out of 10, if you're humming or whistling a song, it's the bass line. Of course, there's going to be lyrics in there as well, you know, the harmony of any kind of lyric or anything, but the majority of the time you're humming the bass line. Because, well, guitar players, they just do all that frivolous stuff on the top, right? That nobody pays attention to, so. Right, and the drummer. Yeah, he does some frivolous stuff.
What is all this talk about?
On Kijiji. Moved back from, I had jammed with guys that you know, the basement bands. I was driving all over Southern Ontario, almost up, you know, to Toronto mostly, and with basement bands, just trying to learn, right? Just trying to get an experience with a drummer, experience with another guitar player, experiencing personalities, because I'd never been in bands before. Not like most of my friends had been in bands since they were, you know, 15, 16 years old, high school, I started, you know, when I was double their age. So, first band, I came back, same thing, you take the CD and there were some rough recordings that were done, took it and went home and, you know, you call up with questions and went from there. It was called Rolodex. Do you know that band? Have you ever heard of it?
Let's take a break.
It's incredible. I left from here probably almost a week early to go and rehearse for a week to get in sync with the band, the guys that we're going with. We had a total of 22 shows, I believe, in 28 days. And this was with another band the band that I was in had toured with a year previous with their old bass player. And yeah, incredible. You're with 4 guys, or 3 guys, I guess, and myself. And another band, which they had their own rig. We had our own van, and we went north, south, east, and west. Every piece of Germany we almost covered in those 28 days. Just a once in a lifetime. Can never take it back. That's something. I got to see a country that I'd never been to, for one. Play in front of people that I will never see again, unless I'm there again and they happen to recognize, you know, I'm still in contact with some, so happen to recognize that I'm coming through again or whatever. Yeah, it's a pretty good eye-opener, how personalities can clash in a VW van, big VW van, but over that span, sometimes 6-8 hours on the road for a day to play one show, and then you're back 6 hours or 8 hours on the road again for the next day. So yeah, time of my life, really. I mean, other than having kids and being married and stuff, that's up there with as one of the best things ever. Yeah, right place at the right time. I knew those guys, and they needed a bass player, so. Recently, I was asked to join a band based out of Vancouver, or Surrey, or White Rock-ish area, called Komodo Wagon. I met these guys when I was in another band that we had played a few shows together, and the band that I was in when I met them is now defunct. A singer and guitar player moved away back home, so that band just kind of folded and ended. And I think it was probably maybe 6 or 8 months after that, I was asked to come and play with Komodo Wagon, if I'd be interested. And I took that with a big smile on my face and told my friend it was like getting called up from the minors if you're a hockey player or a ball player or something, just because I know his attitude towards music, his work ethic, the way he goes about it as a business. Not with the business money, just his just his thought processes are. It's not to try to sell it or anything, but he doesn't let anything go. He takes care of everything, which is good. Much the same. I don't like to leave things and think, oh, somebody else will do it. No, let's work. Put in the work. So that one, and yeah, that's the number one right now. Looking at maybe getting something going locally, because I miss the camaraderie that you get on a weekend jam, get away from work and family life and everything, and do something just with the boys, hang out. With Komodo, we're all over the place. We have 2 of us in Alberta and 2 in Vancouver, so we do our own homework and show up a day early and rehearse for a day or 2, and an evening or 2, and hit the stage. And then after that, it's like termites, man. We just, woof, we're all gone, back to work and back to our regular lives. So it's kind of like a match. It's really fizzles out real quick. The fun part of it, if we were all in the same town, it would last. But surprisingly, it is the least amount of headache I've ever had being in any band. You're expected to show up with your stuff ready, because you have, like I say, the first show we played, I think we had 1 night to rehearse, like a good 4-hour night or something, and then we rehearsed the day of in the morning. So you better show up with your stuff learned, ready to go, and because if you're not, you won't be in the band, and I want to be in that band. So yeah, I don't know, you would know as well as me how many hours you sit in a basement or in a garage or in a rehearsal studio going, really, you didn't learn that? Or, I mean, sometimes a Sunday afternoon practice is 4 hours. Well, we can rehearse our whole set 3 times or 4 times and pick it apart in 4 hours. So, very efficient. It's actually, the only part that you don't get it is you don't get that, the natural feeling between a member until we've played more shows. We've done 3 now, it's getting there. We just make it work. My wife supports me, all the stuff that I do, so if there's something that I can't get to that because of music, she usually says, oh, well, I'll take care of it and you owe me. All right, sure, sounds good, right? It's pretty long, yeah. The notches are getting up there. But yeah, not only, I mean, now that I have a daughter that's got a license and a car, that helps. She's done that where I've, hey, I got practice or whatever, can you take Samantha to soccer? Yeah, sure. Well, here, I'll buy you coffee or put some gas in your tank or whatever. I mean, I pay the insurance, so geez. and then some. So the relationship between a bass player and a drummer, they almost have to be one. Locked in, like I say, with the school definition, you could say lock in with the kick drum, the bass player. But it's not just the kick drum. I mean, anybody that plays bass knows that it's not just that. One of the guys that taught me the most, one of the teachers that I had in Ontario, explained it to me in a triangle. That the bass player and the drummer play the notes that are this big, and the guitar player plays that top of the triangle, which is the fluff on the top. And if you don't have a solid bass, it's not going to work. So yeah, you try to fit in all the good ones. They mesh with the bass player. It just, all the good bands. That's what it is. If you take away everything but the guitar and everything but a bass and drums, it's still going to sound really good. My advice would be to, well, for one, check your ego at the door. Nobody starts off, I shouldn't say nobody. Everybody starts off wanting to be famous. That's everybody's dream. You want to be a famous bass player. You want to be a famous drummer. You want to be a famous band. But the percentage of it is pretty small, and people are going to remember you when you've been in a music in the industry or in the scene for 20 years, and they're going to say, oh yeah, well 20 years ago I was in a band with that guy, and what a jerk, and I don't want to play with that guy anymore. And you're going to be the old guy sitting at home in your basement with nobody, alone, because nobody wants to be in a band with you. Music is something you can do till you're old, much like golf or you know, something like that. And yeah, treat it with respect. I mean, treat people with respect, and it'll open doors for you, trust me. Me being unschooled, let's say, and learning it on my own, I believe that my personality has opened doors for me before someone would look at my bass playing, saying, I want this guy in the band because I know that he'll work hard, be able to play it, and on top of it, he's a good guy. So yeah, check your ego at the door and put the work in, because if you don't have the talent, or you don't have the musical background, say of a degree in music or something like that, it's gonna take time. And if you love it, it's not work. So I never ever found it really to be work, other than maybe when you're learning a song that's hard and you know, you gotta stop and maybe break it down or whatever. But yeah, put the time in. And it really, after a while, it doesn't become that much time once you become a little more fluent in it.
Could I agree?
So yeah, as far as gear that I use, been mostly using Gallien-Kruger, an old, it's not the oldest one, but a Gallien-Kruger 800 RB head. It's kind of like a Duff. Rumor is that that's what he used on Appetite. Nobody knows the real truth. Somebody said it was a 400. It's been documented that it was an 800. So that's my head that I usually use. I like vintage heads as well. I have an old tube amp, a Trainer. It's a 73 YBA3 and a 71 YBA1. So a smaller wattage one. Love the sound of them. Don't gig them because, well, they're vintage and I don't want to wreck them. And they're really heavy. So my Gallien-Kruger is about 20 pounds. I have a PV 215 cab, which I just acquired not too long ago. I was without a bigger stage cab, and I haven't actually taken it out of the basement yet. It's been here, but it sounds great. 15s are old school rock tone, 70s, the stuff that I'm really into. 70s, 80s rock tone. Yeah, and as far as basses, I have a few. I'm not going to divulge how many because my wife will shoot me, but mostly Fender and Gibson Thunderbirds. I have a couple of those. I have some 80s Japanese Fenders that I've recently found the last couple of years that seem to be, as far as fit me the best. And it's a Fender. I mean, a P-bass cuts through anything as far as tone, versatility. Play any style of music you want to play on a Fender P-bass, especially if it's a P with a J pickup on top of it. Can't beat it. I use both flats and rounds. I like Roto Sound. I'm using Roto Sound, but I always use heavy gauge. I've been in I got so used to them playing in a band that our tuning was full step down. So I needed something heavier gauge because I couldn't get the tension out of something with a lighter gauge in it. So I use 50 to 110s. I don't play a 5-string. I tried. It confuses me. I'd rather drop tune a 4-string and play it that way instead. I just find that 1 string it just gets in the way. I don't know. And my hands aren't that big. Hence why I use my preferred. I have a P-bass, a standard American P-bass, which is about, I think it's like 1.625 width neck at the nut. I prefer the jazz neck on a Fender, which is a 1.5, which is the same as what Thunderbirds are, which is nice and skinny for a guy with smaller hands. And they're light, they're compact body, same scale length, 34-inch scale length, but a compact body, not a big wing body like a Thunderbird. But I do like the Thunderbird because it's a nice big chunk of wood. Sounds great, yeah. Hey guys, thanks for checking out the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, click on like. Please subscribe to the channel as well. If you ever see me out and about, either performing or watching some of my friends perform and you recognize me, come up and say hi. I'd really like to meet you, and I'm out.